Hi, I'm going to give you a quick introduction on this cold air ram upgrade for a Dodge Challenger. This is going to open up the passenger side headlight so that you can pump air into the air box. So this is the kit that comes with it, and what I'm going to be working on today is a 2018 Challenger TA with a 392. So it's set up right now as basically stock. The airbox has been modified on top for a bigger filter, but other than that, everything else is stock. All right, so I'll give you a little bit on what's in the kit and then what tools you're going to need. The kit comes with this cross duct that's going to mount on the front of the car. It's got an elbow that mounts to the headlight, the silicone hose that goes from the headlight to the duct, and then the outlet fitting that goes from the duct to the airbox. And then also there's another hose that goes from the outlet fitting to the airbox. That's this one. Okay, and then one thing that comes in the kit, this is a replacement airbox, and you'll see the hole's been cut out for the fitting. What you're going to have to do is replace this grommet when you get this. Use your factory grommet, and then also the rubber bumper that goes on here. You replace that rubber bumper with yours, and then ship this box from your car back to me without any changes. Okay, so the tools you're going to need. You're going to need a 3mm Allen wrench. I like the T's because they're easy to use, and then a 4mm T. This will install the fittings, and this will install the outlet duct. You're going to need an 8mm socket with a short extension and a ratchet. I recommend a 1/4 inch, but if you have 3/8, go for it. And then a 7mm socket with a somewhat longer extension, because you're going to need to reach down to tighten one of the clamps. And then to remove the cap off of the headlight, there's a Torx. It's going to be a T10 Torx. I highly recommend, if you don't have, to pick up a set like this. I got this at Lowe's. This is really good because it's for tight quarters and it's ratcheting. If you have to do it without the ratcheting, it's probably going to take a while. On the front of the duct, there's going to be 2 hooks. These are your lower support hooks, and then there's 2 L brackets that are going to mount up here to hold the duct on. These should be preset, but we'll talk about if you need to make adjustments later. Most of the kit is pre-assembled, but I recommend, if you have some Loctite, for the screw that holds this elbow on. A little Loctite won't hurt, but it has a lock washer on it, so it's not critical. For the fittings, I recommend you have a little bit of silicone grease to lube this fitting and this fitting, just so that these can rotate during installation. It's not something that's important, but I like to use the grease just so that it'll slip a little bit. So the flanges, flange fittings come with an O-ring assembled in here. Just make sure that O-ring's in place before you install it. This one's already assembled, the O-ring's on it, so don't worry about that. And I had a keychain. I just made a logo on my duct because I had a blemish from the anodizer, so that's the only reason that logo's there. The kit comes with 2 stainless steel hose clamps on each hose, or for each hose. 2 here and then 2 over here. While I still have the duct out, I'm going to show you how the elbow mounts, just so it's clear when you're working in the car. So the elbow has a long, 150mm long M5 screw that draws this elbow up. These 2 screws here are just for alignment, so it pulls it centered. So you want to draw this screw up and then make sure this hole is still aligned. Then you can put this short M5 in here, get that started, and just down flush, snug this screw up so that the bottom seals. Don't make it too tight. Remember, this is plastic. Just snug it with a little bit of force, and then tighten this screw up with a 8mm wrench, but just snug it. This is all plastic. Don't torque anything down. Okay, what you need to do to get started is we're going to take off the air box. We'll disconnect the air temperature sensor, just pull the whole box out. We're going to take the headlight cap off, which is basically this part here. We're going to remove this. And to remove that, you're going to want to take this cover up. You know, if you've got hood pins, you just pull that up over the hood pin. If you don't have hood pins, it'll just snap up and slide out. There's just 3 clips here that snap it to the car. Once you have that off, put it aside, and then the cap, which, like I said, is this cap here, is mounted on the headlight right here. So there's some cars have 3 screws, some have 2. There's a T10 Torx on this side and that side. Now, if you have hood pins, you probably want to take this hood pin bracket off, remove the screw here, pull the rivet here, and then slide this hood pin off. If you don't have hood pins, you can access that cap fairly easy. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, this torque set with the ratchet is actually the best way to do this. You can get in and reach the screw over here with this and take it off, and then the other one in here on this side, you can reach in and take that off. I'm going to go ahead and do that and then get back to you. Like I said, if you have hood pins, you want to take this plate off because you really don't have any room to work with that on. Okay, from the factory, the cap was screwed in using this hole and this hole. What we're going to do is we're going to put those screws back into the headlight, and then on our new elbow, it's going to use the twist lock like these have, and we're just going to put the elbow in and twist lock it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the screws back in the headlight, and then I'll get back to you. So the cap is off, and then we're going to install the new elbow. So the new elbow will kind of finagle into here. You bring it down. While the neck of the elbow is pointed downward, you slide the elbow into the hole, and then rotate it so that the elbow is now horizontal, facing towards the airbox. See it this way? Now, one thing I like to do is I like to put a lock screw in here. So what I'll do then is take and drill a small hole there and then add a screw. That way the elbow won't ever rotate loose. Not necessary, but something I like to do. Okay, so quickly I'm going to take this air box off. This is actually pretty simple. You can start by taking the cold air sensor plug off, push it down, press the lock, and then pull it up. And then that's off. Just tuck that out of the way for now. You're going to want to loosen this clamp. Use your 8mm socket. Loosen this clamp up a few turns so that that'll slip off. Then you're going to want to pull this hose off. Just get that out of the way. And then we've got 3 screws that hold the lid on. This one, and this one. Now, you don't want to let those drop, because if you drop them, they're going to be really hard to find. So pay close attention when you're taking this one out up against the fender. Okay, once you have these 3 screws out, you pick up the box, slide it out from the locks in the back, rotate it up, and just slide the whole thing out. Put that aside, and then you come back and take off the lower mount bolt, which is this one right here. Once that's out, you're gonna have to finagle a little bit to get the elbow that goes to the headlight over here out. Okay, now to put the cross duct in, be careful not to scratch it up when you're putting it in. These two hooks are going to go under this lip here, and then there's two hanger L's brackets that we're going to put on. So start with the duct somewhat over to this side. See, I'm about 3/4 of an inch away from this mount. Push it in and then slide it up. Slide it to the left a bit, and once you have it up in place, this hose to the water pump kind of holds it up. Then you're going to want to take these little L brackets, the hangers, and put those in place. This will just hold it up in place. You don't want to tighten this yet because we want to adjust the left and right location a little bit later. So we just want to hang it for here for now. Same thing on this side. Just hold it forward. Put your bracket in. I didn't mention earlier, there's a little seal here that's added just to give you some cushion up against the front. The height of this should be already adjusted. So if you put it on and this comes up above this lip too much, you can take that off and then readjust those hooks on the back. But it should be set to the right height when you receive it. Okay, I've got the duct hung in place and it's not tightened up. I can slide it back and forth to get it where I want it later. It's going to be important because you want to have the gap for the air box so that the air box will fit in and out. You don't want this too close. Okay, so I've got the air box. The bushing's been installed here and the bumper is installed here. And now I'm ready to put it in. The headlight elbow is always a little bit of a finagle, but if you hold your mouth right, you can get this thing to swivel down in there. Like I said, you leave this loose so you can push that out of the way in case you need to. And I'll get back to you as soon as I get this dry. Once you have the box back in place, take and put a little bit of silicone on this fitting, slide it in. Now, one thing you want to notice is that there's two angles on this. One angle is probably 100 degrees, and then there's another one here that's about 85 degrees. The 85-degree angle, which is the tighter angle, goes on the bottom. The wider angle goes on the top to hit this fitting here. I'm going to drop this in here. Make sure you put the clamps on first so that they're hanging there. This one should land in this position so that you can reach it with that long 7mm socket. And then this one, you want it to land in this position. So let it drop down in that position, or just install it where the fitting is on this side. That's a better way. Okay, before you put the elbow and hose in, you want to lock the box back down in place. So put this screw back in, snug it back up. Okay, make sure this is swiveling when you drop this in. Put this hose down, slide it onto the outlet fitting like that, and then pull it up into place down here. You're going to have to rotate it to get the holes lined up. That's why I recommend the lube. And then once you have those holes lined up, you can start putting screws in one at a time. Just get one screw started. Like I said, don't drop these things. Just get it going, and then once it's started, go to another one. That'll just kind of get it lined up. The hoses are a little bit off as far as the rotation, so you're going to have to force it a little bit to get it into place. Once you get all 4 screws in place, then you can just snug those up, and then we'll work on the clamps. All right, with the 3mm T-wrench, just make sure these 4 are all just snugged up. You don't have to crank them down, just snug them with a little bit of finger torque and you'll be good to go. And then you move on to sliding the clamps in place. The top clamp is going to slide up, and like I said, you want to have it in about this position, and then the bottom clamp, you want to be able to reach it from right here. Okay, so this is the long 7mm. You want to go down and get on that clamp and then just snug it up. You know, there's not a lot of air pressure here. This isn't a blown system, so you just snug it a bit and that should be fine. And then this one up here, make sure it's squared up. And because this is plastic fitting, you also don't over tighten it. Just draw it down and give it a little bit of finger torque so that it won't slide off, and you should be good to go. So that hose is all set. All right, so once you have the hose and box in place, this should have about a 3/4 inch gap in here so that you can take the box in and out later. So then just take these two L brackets, square those up, and then snug them down. That'll hold this cross duct in place. Next, you want to put this hose from the headlight to the duct here. It weaves through the ABS lines, so it's going to go down through this line and then onto that fitting. Make sure you put your clamp on first. Don't forget that, because you're going to have to pull it all back off if you don't get it in there. So kind of weave it, wiggle it. The hose is flexible. The lines are slightly flexible. It takes a little bit of finesse to do it, but once you get it down, you slide it on, and then you're going to marry the other side at the same time so they're kind of both slide together. Like I said, I recommend you lube those so that they kind of slide in nice and easy. And then you're going to put your clamps into place. This one will sit about right here, and then this clamp needs to go down onto the elbow. So make sure you slide that down. It's about an inch away from the end of the elbow. All right, once you have the clamps in place, just snug this down, finger snug, not don't torque it, because like I said, that's a plastic elbow. And then this one, this is an aluminum elbow. You can crank it a little bit more, but still there's no need, because you don't have it's not a turbocharger, it's just ram air. So just crank that down, and that side's done. Okay, once you get all that done, you're gonna put the top of the air box back on. I typically take the Dremel tool and take the humps off of these tabs, just because they really serve no purpose. It makes it really hard to install. If you want to, do it. If you don't worry about it. But like I said, there's 3 humps on here that you have to snap in, and it's really complex to do that. So anyway, get this in place, put the hose on first, slide this down, and then kind of finagle it into position. Once it snaps down in place, you can put the screws back on. So once you get these 3 screws in place, just snug them down. Same thing with these. You don't over tighten them, because you'll strip the threads. Just give it a little torque by the hand. Put your vent hose back on, and grab your temperature sensor clip, and wait till you hear that click. That's in place. And then the last thing you have to do is put your cover back on over here. Get that in the holes on this fender first. Drop it in place. There's a little tab here. Just get that under that side, and once you're in the right position, it'll just drop, and then just snap the clips, and you're done. All right, just a few notes for closing here. The lower hose here, I know I made it look somewhat easy to get it in, but full disclosure, I had that on and off, so it's kind of fits better. The new hoses are a little snug because the rotation or clocking of the elbow is just slightly off, so you're gonna have to fight with that a little bit. And another thing is, I like to put a piece of Teflon tape here to keep from damaging the frame here when I put these brackets on. And then also on the back of this, there's the ABS lines are held with two clamps that have a flat surface on them. And I like to take this felt tape and just cut a piece of felt tape and put it on that bracket, so that when the tube comes up against it, there's no abrasion marks. It's not critical, but I don't like to see any wear you know, on an installation. So I just thought I'd mention that before we close. Thank you.